If you're getting into planted tanks, learning about lighting can be overwhelming. Keep watching to find out the 5 things I wish I'd known about lighting when starting my first planted tank. Hi, this is a gamer's wife, here with practical and proven tips to help busy aquarists like you. And I'm gonna straight up tell you that I am not a lighting expert. I've only dealt with low light tanks. But if you wanna play with live aquarium plants, lighting is just one of those key building blocks you gotta learn about. So, this video is not a comprehensive guide on lighting technology and hardcore specifications, but rather some helpful beginner tips and tricks I've picked up on how to choose and use your light. The goal with lighting is to, of course, grow plants, have them visually look good, like they're under natural sunlight, and of course, minimize algae. When your lighting is out of whack with nutrients, which I'll talk about in a future video, your plants can end up failing to thrive or being covered with so much algae you can't even see them anymore. So, let's dive into my top 5 list for lighting. So tip number 1 is to just spend the money and buy a planted tank LED. Yes, you can use the default light that came with your aquarium kit or get a really cheap light, but I usually find they're not strong enough or don't last very long. Some people build their own LED lights, especially if they have a giant fish room with multiple aquariums, because lighting can get really expensive. But if you only have a few tanks like me, honestly, light companies like Fluval or Fittix are pretty good at what they do. So when you buy quality lighting from them, it's just easy mode. The light's already going to cover the full spectrum that plants require, so you don't have to figure it out yourself. That being said, make sure to get a light that covers your entire tank. Some lights aren't great at light dispersion or spread, which means the plants directly underneath the light get lots of photons, but the lights at the edges of the tank are pretty shaded. Now, you can work around this by planting high light plants in the middle and low light plants at the edges. Or, what a lot of people just do is just get multiple lights, especially if you have a larger aquarium. Speaking of making sure all your plants get enough light, you also want to make sure that your light is bright enough, especially if you have a deeper tank. You may hear people talk about a light's PAR rating, which stands for photosynthetically active radiation, basically how strong the light is. Now, there's a lot of debate on how much PAR is required, but the rule of thumb that I've seen is that low light plants like 15 to 30 micromoles of PAR, medium light plants like 35 to 50, and high light plants need over 50 micromoles, plus CO2 injection to avoid algae. Some products will list the PAR rating, but other times I've had to Google the PAR readings that other hobbyists took. Or, if you're lucky, your local fish club may have a PAR meter that you can rent, because they're super expensive. So in my first 5 things I wish I knew video, I said that using a timer was beginner information that I didn't need to repeat. Okay, I'm saying it here again. Use a timer with your light. Why, you ask? Because if you forget to turn on the lights, your plants will get sad and wilty. But if you give them too much light, or, God forbid, leave them on 24/7, you'll have so much algae and green water, you probably won't be able to even see in your tank anymore. How long you leave on your lights can really vary from tank to tank. If you have a ton of fast-growing plants in a high-tech tank, you're probably going to leave that on for, 12 hours a day. But if you have slow-growing plants in a cold water tank in a room that already gets a bunch of ambient lighting, maybe you set your timer close to 5 to 6 hours. Or maybe you'll want to split up your lighting so that it's on in the morning, turns off while you're at school or work, and then is on again at night. That leads me to tip number 5, lessen your lights in the beginning. If you remember my previous videos, I mentioned how new plants in your aquarium can kind of go into shock a bit when they're getting used to their new environment. During those beginning stages, they're really not going to grow a lot. So if you provide a lot of light, the plants aren't going to use it as much, and instead the algae is going to take advantage of it and really take off. So some people recommend starting your timer for only 6 hours a day for the first few weeks, and then gradually increasing it to 8 hours or beyond afterwards. Bentley Pascoe said that if you have a dimmable light, like the Fluval plant spectrum light, he actually dims the lights while the plants are still acclimating. I'm going to post his whole comment here, but for a 18 to 24 inch tall tank, he starts off at 50% strength for the first 2 weeks, checks for plant growth, ups it to 65 or 70% strength if they're doing well, and then keeps increasing it until he hits the maximum amount of light he wants. For shorter tanks, he'll start off the light at 25 to 35% strength and then slowly increase from there. Genius! Figuring out how to balance the lighting and nutrient levels for your plants is a whole other topic, so if you want to take your planted tank to the next level, check out this game-changing video by Chung from The Water Box, who, by the way, recently became a new supporter on Patreon. Thank you! Take time to enjoy your aquariums, and I'll see you in the next video.